So, this is a quick demonstration on using the online platform, setting up a meeting, using the breakout feature, which has been requested a couple of times, and just helping you understand how you can use this for your local chapter mentoring sessions or your local chapter Pitch Fest. So these are tools that you may have access to or you can get access to. So I've got a couple of tools here. So I've got Microsoft Teams right here, which I'm going to start off first and go through very quickly, and then we'll go through a Zoom and then a WebEx and also Google Meet. So Google Meet is completely free, but it doesn't have all the features. It is best for meetings or one-to-many meetings. It doesn't have breakout features, but it does have transcriptions and recording that could be quite helpful. Teams is not free. Zoom is free, but it has a limited, functionality. And then WebEx is not free. These are paid sessions. So we're going to start off with Teams. So I'm just going to kind of put that right in the center and start and join a random. I'm also going to make sure the recording is still capturing my voice. Yep. So on a team call, you could create a link on a Teams call and invite people. Save that link, put it on an invite, and share that meeting link with the students and give them a sort of a calendar invite. Ask them to join a session. Once they join, they'll be all under participants. There are a bunch of options that you have under Teams you can use, such as recording, and then you'll be able to get a copy of it. Very important that all the mentor sessions with students are recorded and submitted to the TiE PMO office. For record keeping, very important for you to do that. So make sure you plan to record all your sessions either in on the computer or in the cloud. You encourage your mentors to do the same when they're reaching out to their students and uh, so on. The thing about Teams is it does have functionality that if you set up certain events like live events, it will have different sets of functionality than if you set up a meeting. So in my case, I've just established a meeting. I just turned it on. I don't have any participants here, but I'm just kind of here looking around. Obviously, the mute button and the video button and the share content button is at the top in Teams. So make sure you get used to it. And then if you wanted to make any setting changes, you're going to kind of scroll down into the meeting options and the device settings. So device settings will allow you to control your camera and which mic or which speaker, etc. And the meeting option will allow you to kind of do things around announcing when people come in or go. I usually turn that off because it can be distracting as you're presenting. Other things like, do you want to allow the attendees to share their cameras and their mics? You could turn this off if you don't need any distraction while you're presenting, and then turn it on when you need feedback or Q&A time with the audience. And you also can have a lobby where you can ask people to wait before you accept them into the meeting. So you're going to see some of these features are going to roll over very nicely into Zoom and WebEx. And Hopefully this crash course teaches you how you can do that. Now, normally when you're using a Teams call, some of you may have the breakout feature. I don't have it enabled. In fact, the IT of the organization has disabled breakouts for us when we're doing a channel meeting. So unfortunately, I cannot show you, but it usually would be, an option at the top which allows you to set up breakouts. Now, I don't have it in Teams for this example, so I'll show it to you in my Zoom as well as my WebEx account so that you guys could find it and use it in Teams if your admins have allowed it at your local chapter's Teams account. Or maybe you're using your corporate account and maybe you guys have it enabled. But in my case, for new channel meetings, which I'm in, it's not allowed and it's not. So it's okay. So I'm also gonna let me go ahead and now close the Teams app. So I wanted to do a quick, 4 to 5 minutes per app. So we'll wrap this one up. That is your team. Okay, so now let's move on to Zoom. So Zoom does have a free version and then it also has a paid version. The breakout feature only is available in the paid version. At least that's what I've seen. And in the free version, you're limited to, 40 minutes of a call. If you have more than, 3 to 5 people or three and more people logging in. So just be mindful of that you may not be able to use the free version of Zoom to do like a local pitch fest, right? Which may require breakout sessions and it may require a longer than 40 minutes. But if you're doing just like a mentor call, then absolutely you can go get a free account with Zoom and with two, three, four, 5 people on the call, you should be good for 40 minutes and nothing will get in the way. So the way you would go and create a new account, I'm sorry, a new meeting, is you would first go and create a new account on Zoom. I'm already logged in here and I'm kind of zoomed in to the top menu bar. um, you would start off with scheduling a meeting. So once you hit schedule a meeting, you can give your, the topic and the date and the time, establish all of the, requirements here, give yourself a passcode that generates automatically, and basically hit the save button, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and run with this generic default stuff and notice how it generates a invite link. So this invite link has the meeting ID and it has the password. Obviously, the password is encrypted. So the point being, if you share this entire link, you should not need to provide a password to your attendee. Just give this link. You could put this link straight into a calendar invite and ask them to click on it and open it, and they should be able to get there directly. Should you need to provide, call-in numbers and meeting ID and meeting passwords, then you can certainly download an invite for Calendar or Outlook or Yahoo Calendar, and then send it to them the more traditional invite. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit a start on this meeting and pretend it's the right time. And so Zoom's going to kick in and start to um, showcase. So check this out. Now I'm on the paid version of Zoom, so you're going to see I have many more options on the bottom. If you were on the free version, you probably will not see poll. Record's going to be there, but it's local record only. Live transcripts not going to be there, and definitely breakout rooms is not going to be there. Other things are going to be there, and there would be a time limit. So in this case, a couple of things that I think it's important to highlight is if you're the host of a pitch fest, or let's say you're going to host a seminar or a webinar, then what you want to do is use the security tab and either enable or disable the meeting room. So if you want to know who's coming in the room, keep it on. If you have already opened up the session and now you just want people to come in and you're going to start presenting, turn that off. If you want students to share their screens, definitely during a pitch fest, you want people to share their screens. You want to turn that on, right? So it's a simple click on and click off. You can allow people to rename themselves, which we normally do. We require them to kind of type in their, team name, followed by if they're a student or a mentor, and followed by, if they're a judge. Like we're using different naming conventions to kind of organize our participant list. So if you want them to be able to rename themselves, you would check that box. And if you want them to share their videos, which we usually want everyone to share their videos, you would turn that on and they can share their webcams. Under participants, this is pretty straightforward. You can invite people once the meetings are already started, or remind people if they were invited and you need them to come in. But let's get right to the important feature, the breakout rooms. So the breakout rooms, works the same way in WebEx and in the Microsoft Teams. Basically, you will create as many rooms as you need, and these rooms are basically sub meetings. They're activated during a live meeting. So let's say I wanted 4 breakout rooms, then I have 3 options. Do you want the participants to be automatically assigned to them? And the logic that it usually uses is if you've got 10 people and you've established 5 accounts, then it's going to put 2 people, 5 breakout rooms is going to automatically put 2 people in each, right? So you can do that, which we don't really find it useful for our case. We like to either assign people manually, or we want the students and the mentors to choose themselves where they should go. So let's say in the case of a pitch fest, where I have specific judges and mentors, I want to have a little bit more control and say, look, you're a judge. I want you to go to a special judge only room and no one else should be able to go there. Then I'm going to say I'm going to assign them manually. So let's just go run with that one. We'll hit the create button, and here you've got now the breakout rooms. It has not yet started. It is now the design part of it is you get to now say, okay, what do you want room one to be called? So let's say you call this one mentors only, right? Say you want this one to be judges only. And the other ones down here, we could say track A and track B if you're going to run multiple versions of your pitch competition. Maybe you have a couple of chapters teaming up, and maybe you want to have team sit in chapter 1 here and chapter 2 here and so on, so that during the local pitch fest, people can go to the right room. Now remember, if you said that you're gonna choose people manually, in other words, you're not allowing participants to choose the room, then it's gonna be a lot of headache to click on each one of the people's names and move them in the appropriate room. So in this case, I would hit assign, and under assign, I would see all the people that are in the room, and I would manually move people under each one because I've limited to how people can move. Now, if I want everybody to choose themselves, I would check the box, allow participants to choose room. And what happens there is once I open up the room, all the participants are notified that the breakout rooms are open. And when they click on breakout rooms, it actually shows them the name of the room and it gives them a blue link or a blue button to join. Mind you, sometimes you actually have to click mouse over the room name for that link to show up. And then if you move your mouse, it goes away. So sometimes people don't see this join button as easily, you know, uh, because of how their computers are showing it. But in detail, in short, it's gonna be in the breakout rooms, and it will say that it's in session, and then you can join if they're allowed to move or choose themselves. But basically, when they hit the join button, then they go into a session. Now, very important that if you're in a breakout room session, you have to have someone who's going to create a local recording of that breakout, because when you're recording in the master in the main room, um, it does not record the breakout rooms by default. Okay, so that's actually the case even for WebEx. So just heads up there that you make a plan for that. But nonetheless, you've got breakout rooms, and then you can close the rooms. It notifies people, and everybody moves back to the main room after like 60 seconds. If you don't like 60 seconds, you can control that under the settings under breakout. Bring that down to like 10 seconds, and everyone will be forced to move back to the main room as soon as you close all the breakout room sessions. You can also set up an automatic time where all breakout rooms close after 30 minutes, so you don't even have to do this manually. You can set it, it opens, and there's a time set, and then it closes, gives people the warning, and so on. Lastly, you can close and open breakout rooms as often as you like. So if you need to have everybody be able to go at one point of the program, leave it open. But then later, if you want jury to deliberate, you can open the breakout rooms without letting people the opportunity to choose themselves, and then manually take only the jury members or the judges and assign them so they can go into a private room that no one else can just jump in on or choose or join in on. And that is a good feature for you to consider. So, hope that helps get you kind of a crash course moving forward on a breakout room. Now, let me also go ahead and mention this just because I think it's super important that we be more ADA compliant. Zoom has a very nice feature called live transcript. If you turn that on, as the host, then it basically adds this closed captioning right on the screen for everyone who has this live captioning enabled. By default, once the host turns it on, then everybody sees it. So this is going to be really good, especially for the recording. It's also really good for the students who are having a choppy connection. Maybe the audio isn't very clear, but they can get the transcript of what's being said. But nonetheless, this feature is I'm seeing more and more be available in Zoom, in WebEx, in Google Meet, and in Teams. So I highly recommend if you've got live transcript under your Google, any of the accounts, that you enable it. Okay. It also creates a full transcript of the conversation. So if another speaker is talking, it will say that so and so said this, and then every conversation is recorded as a full transcript. It is a very powerful feature which I recommend you consider and you use. The other part is the recording. I'll just quickly share that when you hit record on a paid Zoom account, you get to choose with recording on the cloud or on the computer. I'm going to recommend you hit the cloud button because it will help you, keep a very steady connection going. If something happens to your account, the recording continues to go on. With as long as you have another co-host or host there, but it doesn't. The other part of it is that it will also save you disk space after the meeting is over, because if it's a long call, then you probably will benefit saving it on the cloud than on the computer. So just heads up there, but it's simple button, pick what you want and record. The third thing, since it's here, I'm going to quickly go over the polling. Again, it looks the same or acts the same under WebEx, so I hope I could just show it here and then you kind of take it from there. But it's pretty straightforward. You create a poll. In my case, it went straight to Zoom, the website, and it made a sort of an untitled poll. I'm just going to save it. And what happens is once the poll is created here, then you can publish this poll with choices that you have. Once you launch it, the attendees all get the opportunity to respond. You will see real time how many have responded. You end the poll, and then you have the option of sharing the result or just see what people chose. You can also share, or you can also download the results on your computer, and you can also choose to show individual results had you had that enabled. So in my case, I didn't, but that's pretty much it. Very straightforward. All of these things have become very powerful, so I encourage you to use them to engage with your audience and have a fun and secure uh, meeting or local event. So I'm going to switch over. Let's end the Zoom call and we're going to switch over to WebEx, right? So WebEx is pretty straightforward. We're going to start a meeting, but you could have done scheduling and invited people accordingly, right? So here's a WebEx call. And in this case, we're gonna start a meeting. You're gonna see that it's pretty much the straight, pretty much straight forward as we did in Zoom. So let me make sure I am still speaking. Yep. So you can record, have breakout sessions here as well. You can see it's set up very similar to the Zoom call. And then you have other features like lock the meeting and invite and remind people and so on. It's under more settings. Now under WebEx, you'll notice you have few more options. Participants. You can mute everybody, and it's more clear where that is. On Zoom, you have to actually click on the person and mute them. Uh, but there are other ways you can do that. But you also have the polling and the Q&A, uh, which is another cool little feature in WebEx. But they all work kind of the same way. You just have to pick one of them, schedule the meeting, invite the people to the meeting that day, and then as the host, manage the run of show and the tool. I highly recommend you have multiple co-hosts, so that way it's not one person running everything. But definitely use the co-host. You can assign people when you right-click on people's names. You can assign them privileges, so you can have multiple co-hosts, and those co-hosts can be muting people or unmuting people should the need be, and then you can also manage the breakout sessions together as well. Again, I'm going to remind you that if you're asking your mentors to, speak with students, record those mentoring sessions. They're going to be very helpful for the TiE platform for us to know that one, mentoring is happening. Two, it gives us the ability to see the type of questions students have, how much impact is the TiE mentor making, and we also kind of get to gauge the mentor quality as well. So it won't be publicly shared, or that I understand. So, but definitely make use and ask people to record those mentoring sessions and then submit them to the TiE PMO office. Okay, so that kind of is a quick crash course on the WebEx side. Let me quickly show you the polling is quite different. So under polling here, you're going to see it says, okay, well, first you're going to create a question. So my question, and then you're going to create some answer choices. So my answer choice A, my answer choice B. So it's not as intuitive as Google as Zoom was. So, but it's still there. And then, once you have designed it, once you added a second question and more options, then you can open your poll. The poll is sent to all the students. The response is captured. You can close the poll and then you can share the poll with your attendees. You can even share individual results if you were collecting individual results. I tend not to do that publicly. I'll just share kind of an anonymous response of how people voted. And it's nice to let people see where everybody stands. So sometimes you may want to know how's everybody feeling, and then capture that and let people know that, hey, look, everybody's in the room is nervous together, so it's okay. But use these functionalities to again engage with your audience. Okay, so I don't want to save, and let's end the WebEx meeting so you get the idea on how that could be established. But now let's go to the Google Meet, which is the free, service. Definitely is helpful, but it does not have the breakout features, and then it's limited to how you can do polling and other things. So let's just go ahead and turn this one on. I do believe it's gonna, let's try an instant meeting. Of course, you can do a meeting uh, for later and share that link with people in, again, invites or calendar invites. And on the day of, you could click on the link yourself and then start it. But for the sake of the demo, I'm going to use an instant meeting. And I think it's going to quickly jump and enable my mic. And here's the link. So there's the link you want to share with people. In my case, I'm going to close it. And let's just quickly look at this. In this case, I love that Google has automatic captions on. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on, and you'll see, bam, it shows up right at the bottom. And if another person is speaking, then that person will have their name in front of it. The sharing option is there as well. One thing I like to remind people is Google Meet is not an application you download on the computer. It's a web-based application. Notice it's using my Google Chrome browser, and the other applications I had while I was using the web version to set up the meetings. But as soon as I started the meeting, it forced the application on my computer to load up and ultimately run the session from there. So this tends to be very powerful because it's completely web-based. It's accessible to almost everyone, whether they use a Mac or Linux or PC. So this one has, it's the biggest bang for your buck. In this case, you're not paying anything, so it's the best thing to do for those mentor calls and mentor meetings, and it does allow for visual effects like setting up your background and doing fancy things there. Um, the thing that again that I want to point out is that you don't have, you have a whiteboard, but you don't have breakout sessions, and some of those features aren't going to be available because this is kind of intended for few people. And in this case, you can see under people, you'll see everybody who's on the call or everybody who's invited. Under the messages, you're gonna see the chat features, and then under activities, you can add things. So there is breakout rooms, but not for the free version. It is only for Google Workspace that have this enabled. And then if you were to click on it, you can learn more on how to get it. So for those of you who have this, it works very similar. So I hope those things like recording and polling, again, all of them are under the premium version. So I don't have a Google workspace account that I can use right now. But again, it works the same way. You just have to find it under activities. And if the admins of your workspace has enabled it, then you'll see it. And it works very similar to the ones we used in WebEx, Zoom, um, and again, it's pretty straightforward. All of them are kind of doing the same thing. So that's where you'll find it under activities. And of course, as the host, you have some controls. You can control if people can share their screen or not, if they could send text messages or not, if they can unmute themselves, and also if they can share their cameras. So if you have any distractions, you can take care of it by going under host. Okay, so that in a nutshell is your quick and crash course for using these platforms. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope that you continue to engage with the TiE University.org resources, that you send your students towards these activities and the competitions and the investor demo days, the hackathons, and so on. And hope this helped you get a little bit up to speed on using the platforms for engaging students. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.